Welcome back to your Medicare Moment. My name is Will Blanton from the Blanton Insurance Group. As always, glad to have you join us today as we try to demystify parts of Medicare that might be a little confusing. So that's why we're breaking it down for you. I'm joined today by an associate of mine, Paul Sheldon. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Will.
So on the last show, when I was talking with Sam, we were talking about Part A, which is called hospital insurance. But Part B has a whole different take to it, and that is the medical insurance aspect of Medicare. Also part of the original Medicare that came into 1966. It only had two parts, Parts A and B, and this is the other side of the yin yang. So, Paul, maybe we can jump in here and talk about the things that are covered by Part B.
Perfect. Anything that is done and over with the same day, that is any type of visit, consultation, treatment, or surgery that is done and over with the same day, generally is covered by Medicare Part B. Why do I say generally? Because there's the new kid on the block, Medicare Part D for drugs, that is not covered by Part D, because when you go to the pharmacy, you're in and out the same day. But Medicare Part D is the new kid on the block, which has its own separate part of Medicare. But other than that, everything done and over with the same day is covered under Medicare Part B. So your office visits, all your diagnostic stuff, urgent care, outpatient surgery, anything done over with the same day is covered by Medicare Part B, as in boy.
Now, we talked about Medicare Part A, and pretty much been what you've been paying for when you do your Medicare taxes throughout your life. But Medicare Part B does not have the same thing. It actually does have a premium you have to pay. And it does base also on your income. So, Paul, maybe share kind of what the 2025 income guidelines, at least for the basics, are.
Sure. About 95% of all people who have Medicare Part B come under the income category of 100 and $106,000 or less for the calendar year. Now, that income level is not your gross income, but rather your so-called modified adjusted gross income, MAGI. I always like to remember the biblical term MAGI, MAGI, modified adjusted gross income. Now, the word modified does not apply to very many people. It only applies to those who have been receiving since 2023. That's 2 years ago. Social Security Administration always looks 2 years back at your modified adjusted gross income from 2023 to see what your income was. So about 95% of all people fit in the category of $106,000 or less, and double that for couples. So spouses, $106,000, $212,000 a year or less. Most people fit in that category, in which case your Medicare Part B premium this year will be a total of, come on, brain, you can do it. Come on, brain, you can do it. 100, this is terrible.
187?
187, actually 185, sorry. So $185,000 a year or less for a single person, and twice that for a married couple. So $370,000, $370 for a married couple.
And when we meet, we will obviously go over all that with you during our consultation. So we won't make you do all the math that we're trying to make you do right now. So we'll have it all figured out for you. Now, the other thing about Part B is it's not just paying for everything. You actually have to pay into it as part of coinsurance. And Paul, maybe you can share some of that.
Sure, that's a great point. Now, the funny thing about Part B, unlike Part A requires that you have a certain amount of work credits, that is specifically 40 work credits over your lifetime, which only requires 10 years or more of active employment. Whether you're part-time or full-time, you can qualify for Medicare Part A when the month in which you turn 65 without any premium whatsoever. But Part B works differently. Part B does not require that you have any credits at all, as long as you're a citizen or green card holder of the United States, you have to pay a premium whether you have no credits or however many credits. Everybody has to pay a premium for Part B unless your income is low enough to qualify for Medicaid. California's name is Medi-Cal for the for
Lower income.
Medicaid. Yes, lower income.
Now let's talk about what the coinsurance is. So maybe people can get a little prepared for that aspect.
Okay, so Part B, first of all, requires a calendar year deductible, which this year in 2025 is $257 that you
Hmm.
have to pay before Medicare kicks in. This is assuming that you only have Medicare Parts A and B. Part A, there is no premium for it, but Part B, you have a premium depending on your income. But the coinsurance, the interesting thing, people get confused about co-pays and co-insurance. A co-pay is a dollar amount. Co-insurance is a percentage. So Medicare for Part B has a deductible of $257 this year for 2025, after which Medicare pays 80%, you
Right.
pay 20% if you only have Medicare Parts A and B with no supplement.
And there's no max to that. That is 20% that you're going to be paying throughout it.
That is correct. For the entire calendar year, that's right, Will. There is no maximum amount limit that you can pay out of your pocket. Now, it's for the calendar year. So the new calendar year, so for January of 2026, your deductible, your coinsurance, everything starts all over again.
Kind of like people that have had dental insurance, it's kind of the same thing. Once again, that calendar turns around, you're restarting everything.
Perfect analogy.
Now let's talk about, there are actually some things that do not actually involve deductibles or coinsurance, and there's only 4 of those.
That
One
is
of them
correct, Will.
is hospice. Hospice
That
is
is
end of life care. Other things that are include.
Yes. So you have simple x-rays, now not complex x-rays like MRIs, PET scans, and CAT scans, but simple x-rays under Medicare Part B have no deductible, no coinsurance, no copays, and then also medically necessary lab work. Now, why did I emphasize medically necessary? Because, for example, my doctor requires that I every year get my vitamin D level checked. Even though my vitamin D level has been perfect for about 12 years, he still wants to be proactive and have me get my vitamin D level checked. Well, it's not medically necessary that I do
Right.
so. So Medicare does not cover that. And I have to pay about $17 every year for my vitamin D level to be checked. So medically necessary x-rays, medically necessary lab work, home health care, and as you mentioned earlier, Will, hospice care are all covered 100% by Medicare, even if you do not have a Medicare supplement.
Which we'll talk about Medicare supplements in a future episode. That's definitely something which you're going to want to know about. So we'll be sharing that in a future episode here on Medicare Moments. Let's talk about another aspect of Part B, and that is your annual wellness visit, where you meet with your doctor and kind of come up with your plan and seeing how you are doing physically. Paul, you've been through this under Medicare. Can you maybe share how that experience is?
Yes. So people often confuse a Medicare wellness benefit from a head to toe physical. That is not correct. Medicare wellness benefits include your medical history, your eyes, ears, nose, throat, general checkups by your doctor, your family history, but not x-rays, MRIs, PET scans, CAT scans, and all of that stuff head to toe.
Let's go sort of talk about, since you've had numerous clients as well as I that have been through Medicare Part B. Maybe you can share some of the caveats or issues that have come up that people should be aware of.
Great question. Now, some people do not need to get Medicare Part B, specifically those who have insurance through an employer that has 20 or more employees. However, there can be exceptions to that. For example, let's say you are on an employer group plan that has 20 or more employees, and let's say you have a very high deductible. Let's say you have a $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 deductible, I sometimes suggest that a person consider getting Medicare Part B. Why? Because let's say you have a real high deductible. Well, Medicare Part B has a deductible this year of $257. Then
Mhm.
Medicare pays 80% of the Medicare approved amount. You pay 20%. So sometimes it can be advantageous for a person who is on an employer plan in which the employer has 20 or more employees, in which it can be worth your while to pay the premium for Medicare Part B, which depending on your income, but generally about 95% of all people this year will pay about $185 a month for their Medicare Part B. But after that, Medicare pays 80% after your $257 deductible, and you pay 20%, which can be advantageous to have Medicare Part B if your employer has a very high deductible.
That's always a great food for thought. And yeah, I've come across that experience a couple times with people. So yeah, it's don't just think because you are on a group plan that it's your best chance or best choice to stay on that group plan, especially since you do have the chance to
That's
take on Medicare Part B.
perfectly stated. It just depends on the specific situation, which you and I do an analysis, and we find out very quickly whether or not a person is going to be a best fit for having Medicare Part B.
Speaking of that analysis, got the information here on the screen for you to get in contact with me, Blanton Insurance Group. Phone number 661-495-0661, 661-495-0661, or you can also reach me online at blantoninsuranceGroup.com. You can schedule a Medicare checkup so we can see your situation and get you all taken care of. Paul, if people want to contact you, how do they reach you?
Our area code is 661 also, 398-2298. 398-2298. And I recommend that you first contact Will and let him analyze your situation. And Will does a very good job about assessing your situation. And Will is not the kind of guy that is going to tie you up with duct tape and make you sign the papers. He's a very non-threatening, very low pressure type of guy.
That's absolutely right. Thank you so much, Paul, once again for getting on coming on board with Medicare Moment. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime, Will.
Coming up next time, we'll be talking about the other parts of Medicare as we get beyond the original Medicare, and that will be Part C. We'll talk to you next time here on your Medicare Moment.